Properly understand what Dima said, because I lost my CGN there and could not translate. So here I'm with a different hat from the Internet Society, and I will talk about the work that we've been doing. I joined the Internet Society in December. So yeah, about me, a quick history. I heard it's polite to introduce yourself. With previous presentation, that was the old presentation from Go6, there was no need to introduce myself usually, but here. So, I'm Jan, founder of Go6 Institute and still CEO. I'm still running the Go6. I worked in internet operations and still work in internet operations for 20 plus years. I was one of the pioneers of the national ISP. We built it from the scratch. So I know about the cables, about the routing, about the services, about Unix, about all that stuff, how to handle the traffic, how to handle the users. So I'm not from academic part of the world. I'm coming from the real part of the world. I have 14 years of IPv6 experience. I'm using it for a long time, and I'm building all my projects on IPv6, and all the development is done on IPv6. So I can safely say that I know more about v6 than about IPv4, because I think the IPv6 is the future, and I've been thinking this for the last 13 years. I'm also the active and contributing member of RIPE community and the IETF community. I'm the primary co-author of RIPE 501 and RIPE 554. That's the specification about how to buy equipment and specify IPv6 requirements. We needed 3 years to get the consensus from the community about that document. If you're buying equipment, if your company is buying equipment, please find out RIPE 554. It's a procurement document. Bring it to your procurement people and make them understand they need to require IPv6. As I said, I'm also co-author of ROC 6346. That's A+P. That's an architectural document that defines the address sharing. And I joined the Internet Society Deploy 360 program in December. So, shameless plug about Deploy 360 program. What do we do? This is a part of this is a team inside the standardization group and technology group. We are dealing with deployment-oriented stuff. We would like to build the portal that would bring the operational practice to the people that needs the information how to deploy IPv6, DNSSEC, and RPKI, routing security, routing resiliency, and so on. So, what is our solution? We would like to provide really hands-on information how to advance the real-world deployment. And we are also searching for a good experts to help us write these documents that would fulfill our roadmap. So, this presentation is made from 2 different parts that are not interconnected in any way with each other. And I have 2 minutes left. So, the lightning talk, I would just like to make you understand you are the operators and you need to talk to the IETF. The second part is the best current operational practices idea that I have 10 minutes for. Okay, thank you, Dima. And it's about exploring the idea of creating a global repository of best current operational practices. This is changing a bit. We are not creating a global one, but after being at RIPE meeting and getting the feedback from the RIPE community, we changed the whole thing. So, again, these 2 areas are not related to each other. BCOP has nothing to do with the IETF. Don't worry. So, short lightning talk. What is the IETF? The IETF standardizes the protocols and services that vendors are implementing and you guys are buying the devices from them and using them, implementing in your network. The goal of IETF is to make the internet work better. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's less true, but in majority of times this is really true. Because without the IETF, there would be no standards whatsoever, there would be no IPv4, no IPv6, there would be who knows what. So the Internet Society is the administrative home for the IETF. We organize the IETF meetings. We are home for IETF. IETF is organized task force from the Internet Society. And we are, as a good taking care people, we would like to improve stuff. And what we see is that we see the option for improved communication between the operations community and the feedback. Because without sufficient operators' feedback, the IETF can't make standards that fits operator needs, right? And the standards could be better designed if you guys would go back to the IETF with the observations and experience from the field and tell them, listen guys, this is not good, you should fix that. But if that communication does not happen, the IETF standards cannot improve. We understand that the operators are the one that really understands how to run the networks, not the IETF, and not the vendors. And we ask ourselves why the operators are not going to the IETF that much. And we found two answers. The lack of manpower, because the operators need their best people in the network operating center and to run the network, to fix the issues, and not going around playing tourist at the IETF meeting. That's their perception. And also the operators rely on the vendors that when they communicate their needs, when you guys tell the vendors what you need from them, vendors go to the IETF and standardize that. So there is a chain. There is a reliance between operator, vendor, IETF. But the vendors not always tell us the true story at the IETF. They tell a bit different story. So it would be really, really important that you guys get involved in this process. And both worlds have long-standing, effective processes, and we need to respect both of them from both sides of the world. I have a personal analogy for that problem. Back in time, the Formula 1 car was once developed in a wind tunnel. And there was a bunch of engineers around that were trying to get the aerodynamics work and all the down pressures and all that. And they were modifying the car. And when they found out that if they raise a nose for a bit, the aerodynamic gets better. And they said, oh, cool, let's raise the nose. And they were raising the nose, until the aerodynamics around the car and the down pressures were perfect. They engineered the perfect package. It was just miracle, the best Formula 1 car in the history. And then the driver came by, the operator, sat in the car and said, guys, hey, I cannot see anything out of this car. I don't see the road. I can't drive this car. The nose is too high. So if the driver would be involved in the engineering process earlier, when they started to raise the nose, and he would come, sit in the car and say, hey, stop. I don't see the road anymore. This is useless. Go back. Find another solutions. They would not spend so much time and effort in standardizing and engineering the packages that are perfect from engineering point of view, but not that useful from operator's point of view. So that's my personal analogy. Okay, and now the actual talk. How many minutes? 5. Okay. So, this was about the IETF. So if you have the chance to relay back to the IETF the experience, please do so. Okay, BCOP Repositories. What is the challenge? BCOP stands for Best Current Operational Practice. What is the difference between BCOP and BCP? BCP is Best Current Practice and can be written by anyone that thinks understands the protocol and the standardization. Best Current Operational Practice can be written only by experienced operators that knows exactly how to deploy networks, how to run networks, and what are the issues. So, the best current operational practices are already shared among you guys, even here in these meetings. In a hallway conversation, you talk to other people, you have the issue, you ask somebody else that you know that deployed something, you ask him, and he tells you how they did it, right? Then it's the operator group presentations, like somebody comes up and says, hey, I deployed IPv6 in this way, but then he stays there, right? He just comes on stage and shows up and says, hey, we did this, without further implications. That's email list, web forum threads, and all that stuff. So currently, there's no quick and easy way for somebody to find what is the best way how to deploy, how to build, how to run a network, or how to deploy new technologies like IPv6, DNSSEC, RPKI, and so on. And there's also too much clutter in IT space. If you type in, I don't know, learned IPv6, you get millions and millions of hits on the Google. So what we're trying to do is, there may be a need for globally recognized document series that documents the best practices for operationalization of internet technologies. And what we're going to do is, okay, so these things already started. It started in Enog. They started the IP BCOP effort by Aaron, Chris, Grandeman, and others. They started working on these best current operational documents. And they asked us to help starting a global BCOP repository, but after we shared this idea with the RIPE community, we changed a bit the timeline of the whole process. So the NANOC community IP BCOP became a regional BCOP at NANOC in North America, and is now contributing to the whole thing. The solution idea. So I'm here in a questioning mode. I'm traveling around the world talking to different network operator groups around the world, asking them how they think it should be done and if they are willing to participate in this. We will come with a proposal later in the year, and probably this proposal will be very simple. But we believe that a neutral and regionally organized repositories of documents that describe the best current operational practice could help in many ways. They could speed up the deployment of IPv6 and DNSSEC. They could make the routing infrastructure more resilient, and they could simplify the initial steps for new operators that would come in a game, maybe late, but still new operators are built. And these documents, as I said, should be written by really experienced network operators and globally accessible to everyone openly, without fees, without anything. And we are committed to assisting around the world in different regions to create and promote and help start these BCOP efforts. So what we're aiming at, let's create discussion groups inside NOGs, regional internet registry communities, where actually operator to operator discussion happens. The same group could later on also be used for other purposes, as the operators communicating their needs to some people from the IETF that would probably attend these meetings, or but these BCOP processes should be owned by you guys. We at Internet Society are just committing to help starting it and help facilitating the work, and to try to understand how the things are running around the world. What should be our discussion topics in these working groups, discussion groups, whatever you want to call them, tracks or I don't know. It should be the presentations from the operators that says, okay, we are running our network in this way, or we deployed IPv6 in this way, and the presentation about that should not be just to show off on the stage. It should be, okay, I'm telling this because I would like to start writing a document about this, the best current operational practices document, and I'm searching for help in the room. If there is anyone that has the same issues and have the same experience as me, please come forward, come to me, we can co-author the document and make it better. Also, we can do some open discussion of what the operators need to ease the deployment of new technologies. And actually, this was the first idea that we had at Internet Society that was not very well accepted by the operators, especially not by the RIPE community. Lots of people came to me and said, it is too heavy, it is top heavy, it looks like IESG, it looks like IETF, we don't want that. So we don't need secretariats, we don't need committees, we don't need this stuff. And I would like to thank Rob Blogzal that went first on the mic. He gave me the first initial idea saying that he supports this proposal, but let's get the documents and content started. And what we did, we're not doing that. It is too top heavy, it is too rigid. Instead of that, let's get the content in the region started first. Let's build the foundation. We need to build the foundation, then we need to build the first floor, and then we can start building the roof. In the previous slide, we started building the roof without building the foundation. That's not the good way to go. So here, we would like to get involved in the regional communities to get this work started and to get the documents out, to get them produced. And what we're going to do is create a simple web page somewhere, blank one, and just point the URLs to the different BCOP regional efforts, whatever they are doing, whatever they're working on. If they're working on, I don't know, document about how to filter the spoofed source addresses, fine. We will just point the URL down to that document saying, okay, these guys are doing that. We will point the links down to the RIPE community BCOP effort if something starts happening, saying they're just doing that, just for your information. No rigid structure, no top-down heavy stuff, just very simple and plain stuff. So what are the advantages? Probably many of you are just asking yourself now, why the hell should I do that, right? Because of many things. There are many different reasons why we should do that. It's because we need to understand between the operators and share the knowledge what are the best current operational practices, what are the best way to run the networks and implement new things. And I don't know how to say this politically correct, but you probably saw at the Wicket in Dubai that the governments are trying to get into the internet space, and they are trying to get their role in the internet space. So they will keep coming back. They will keep coming back and coming back. And maybe at one point in time, they might get the right to regulate and mandate something. I'm saying this is a really bad thing. from internet point of view, but it might happen that these guys will come and try to mandate something, because it's the nature of the governments, right? So at that point in time, we have just two options. If the operators agree on the best current operational practice, then we have a set of documents that we can point the governments to them saying, listen, if you really must do something, use this. There is the knowledge, these are the best ways how to do stuff. And for example, BCP 38, source address spoofing filtering. Internet would be a much better place if this would be implemented at any network, at all networks around the world. And if the regulator mandates BCP 38 to set up the source address spoofing filters, the internet would become a better place. So if you have more documents like this, we can tell them, listen, these are the ways that the internet should be run. But if we don't do this, and if we don't have nothing in hand, probably the regulators and the governments will reinvent something on their own. And I don't even want to start thinking about that, because we might drive the internet into very wrong direction. So I have a question, and I see Dima saying stop to me. So who in this room is willing to participate in a BCOP process if it's created in the region? Show of hands. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. We can talk about that later. Have a beer or something and talk over beer about it. Very good. So, are there any questions, suggestions, commitment? What? Yes, if you go to ipbcop.net, at Enog, there are two documents that are ready, and one is in production. But we just had a discussion with RIPE NCC staff. We will set up a mailing list for the RIPE region, for the BCOP. There was a BCOP BAF at RIPE in Dublin 2 weeks ago. And the idea was to set up a mailing list to start a discussion. There were like 70 people in the room at the BAF, and we will first try to identify the topics that needs to be covered with these documents, and when we identify all the topics, we will try to divide them by regions. But for example, now I know that the work already started on a source address spoofing, best current operational practice, and also other documents are being created.
Which document now published? You mentioned only two. Which one?
I don't know by heart. We need to go to the ipbcop.net. It's Chris Grundeman and Aaron Hughes that are driving the whole thing.